it's interesting, too, because you guys know this about me, right? You guys can both vouch for me. President and CEO of the Brock Purdy fan club sitting right here at this desk, right? Like I was talking over the summer, this guy's going to win the starting job. He'll be the starting quarterback for this team. But I find it so interesting. It's a very polarizing story. It's a very polarizing topic, and it has been for a while, right? The guy is the last pick in the draft, kind of has some Tom Brady vibes now in terms of the trajectory of his career. But he still had plenty to prove this past weekend in this game, right? We still talked about him being able to lead the team back when they're down, being able to win, important playoff games. Didn't get a chance to see it last year because he had an elbow that didn't work. The problem was, and I said on Friday, right? I said Brock Purdy has more to prove than anybody else quarterback-wise in these two games this past weekend, even more than Lamar Jackson. And I had people freaking out. They're like, what do you mean he has something to prove? Oh, and then once he wins and plays well in the second half, by the way, really bad first half, second half, it's, see, he showed you, didn't he? Brock Purdy showed you. Well, there's a difference between somebody having something to prove and then saying you think somebody's going to fail. Like I've always said, Brock Purdy has the potential to be a franchise quarterback. He's got a lot of weapons around him that certainly helps him, but he was the most accurate quarterback in the NFL this year. Incredibly efficient, improved his ability to get the deep throw down the field accurately, consistently, worked on that. And now we saw first half to second half in the comeback for the 49ers. He added something else to his very short resume in the NFL. He can lead a team back, get them to a Super Bowl. He can forget what happens in the first half, play well in the second half. In fact, Brock Purdy had himself a game that no one else has ever had before. I saw OptaStats tweet this out. Brock Purdy is the first quarterback ever, regular season or postseason, to throw for 150 or more yards and a half, rushing for 45 or more yards and a half, completing 80% of your passes, averaging 10 or more yards per rush with no turnovers. No quarterback in the last 30 years has done that in any half of a regular season or a postseason game. He added to his resume. He had something to prove, and he proved it. Everybody should believe in what Brock Purdy can do and what Brock Purdy has the potential to do with the right system and with the support of this team. But it's just amazing how people can look at this and think like, just because someone still has like a little experience in the NFL, that we can still have questions while also believing in what their ceiling could be. I love Brock Purdy. I'm so glad he was able to prove that. I'm glad that he went out there and shut everybody up that didn't believe in him. I've never been one of those guys. I absolutely love Brock Purdy. Everybody on social media, I don't feel like writing comments. I'm just going to say it to you like this. I always believed in the guy. He proved what he had to prove to everybody. I am the president of his fan club, and I got two people vouching for me right here, so shut the hell up. Thank you.
Oh, I would think there's some, and I'll see if I can find it here. I think it's been sent across already from. So excuse me while I just look at my second screen here.
I see like Travis Kelce all the way down to 14-1, and that would make sense, since he's with Dick.
Right. I think here we go. We have it in front of us. So far, now this is obviously early on, although this market could be bet into for a while. You could have gotten in earlier on this. You didn't have to wait until now, and if you didn't, then good on you if you got on like Mahomes at 10-1 when it opened, or Purdy at plus 450. McCaffrey is cut his odds in half from 10-1 to 450. But ticket count, Jackson, McCaffrey, Kelce, with Jackson and McCaffrey reasonably close, and then a pretty good sized gap to Kelce. And this is at BetMGM, by the way. Highest money count, and obviously Jackson's out of the picture now too. But Jackson was leading in tickets and money, so he's gone from both of those. So really, in ticket count, it's McCaffrey, Kelce, and then in money, it's McCaffrey, Purdy. The biggest liability was Jackson. Second biggest liability, which now becomes the first liability since he's live, is Kelce. Exactly to your point, Ryan. They're going to be rooting against Kelce, and Kelce's going to get a boatload of freaking tickets. If he's probably already, and he's going to get a ton more, because all these casual bettors and people who never bet but once a year, and they've got to watch the game, and they love Taylor Swift, and they've got to bet on her boyfriend. It's going to be ridiculous. That liability is not going to get less.
I'll tell you what, Pat, this has nothing to do with betting, but like you bring up the Taylor Swift thing, this has got to be an NFL dream. You have Patrick Mahomes back in the Super Bowl again. The Chiefs have become the new Patriots, so they're the villains now. And you're going to have more Taylor Swift marketing. She's down on the field with Travis Kelce for the AFC Championship celebration, and they're going to get cameras all over her at the Super Bowl, whether she likes it or not. This is just a dream scenario for the NFL.
Oh, absolutely. And it speaks to what you were speaking at the top of this whole segment, Nick. The ratings are going to be ridiculous. And that is, there are many reasons why that they should be. And we're getting a rematch from a few years ago and so on. But that's a big reason. The ratings are going to be absolutely off the hook. And it's going to bring in, this game always brings in a ton of people who are very recreational bettors, who maybe bet once a year if they bet at all. And this is only going to stand to further that. It's just going to, the numbers are going to blow people's minds, I think, when we get back the total handle on this game in the days after the Super Bowl. And that's a big reason why. I mean, you can't deny it. And I'll tell you what, there is a certain sportsbook operator in Canada that may have very much mispriced the no on Travis Kelce to propose to Taylor Swift on the field after the game and got hammered.
I saw that.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. I mean, look, those most legal regulated U.S. books are not going to be able to offer a prop like that. I wish in some cases they could. Some of them are a little out of bounds, but I wish in this case they could. I think it's a great prop.
People are going to want to vote for him. I'm telling you this. He's having one of the best years I've ever seen a basketball player have. He's averaging more than 1 point per minute. He's scoring 35 points in 3 quarters regularly. It's craziness.
It's effortless for him now.
Effortless. We've talked about this before. I don't know what he's done in the offseason, but when he hits these mid-range shots, he's face up, jab step, in your eyeball, splash. I don't know how you stop it. I don't know how it doesn't go in every single time, because that's what I believe is going to happen.
Yeah, you can't stop it. That's the thing. With his skill set, how big he is, his size, he just gets better every year. And I didn't think that was going to be the case with Embiid, but now, like with this season, and that's why we talked about this last week. I bet Luka at 11-1. He's down to 6-1 right now. We talked about what is it going to take? Does he need to be a top 4 seed in the West? We went over all this, but with Embiid, that was my concern. Is he got the MVP, the regular season award last year. Now you have a real head coach in Nick Nurse, who also saw that team completely drained in that Game 7 loss in the second half. Maybe he does get some rest down the stretch, and that was the look on Luka at 11-1. Now there's other guys that could easily win this award. Jokic again. Shea's been awesome, and OKC's the number 1 seed in the West right now. But, like Kyrie, I know he's dealing with this thumb injury or whatever, and he's supposed to be coming back, but, like, has Kyrie ever been on the floor this year? I feel like every time I watch the Mavs, he never plays, man. I've seen him play like 3 times this year. So Luka's leading the team in points, rebounds, and assists. So there's my case for him.
I mean,
he's played 27 games so far this year.
And it doesn't even feel like he's played that many.
Right. Yeah.
Change my mind on Monday.
Yachty.
Tristan, we'll start with you. Dan Campbell's aggressiveness, as if we haven't talked about this enough, but you know what? It's the gift that keeps on giving. Dan Campbell's aggressiveness is why the Lions lost. Change my mind.
I can't. It's absolutely the case. Yeah, I mean, you can blame it on Josh Reynolds and those drops for sure. You can blame it on the fumble by Gibbs. I mean, there's a lot of factors that led to that. But if they take those field goals and don't go for it, they absolutely win the game. I don't think that there's enough time for the Niners to come back. Not to mention, probably Brock Purdy's not throwing that ball deep down to Brandon Ayuk in that spot because, the game plan is different. So, yeah, I think absolutely that's the whole reason why. If he changes those 2 decisions, they win the game and they're going to the Super Bowl.
It was the main reason. It's not the only reason, but what it did was not only did it basically take points off the board for them. You mentioned those 6 points, the potential 2 field goals, and I'm okay with even maybe 1 going for it on 4th down. Second time around, that's a chip shot field goal. You should be able to make that. You get those extra 3 points. You also completely flipped the momentum all the way around, because then that goes down as a stop for the 49ers defense. Boom, we feel good. Crowd's into it again. You're feeling all right. You gain that momentum. Crowd's behind you. You're on the road. You want to take the points when you're on the road. You don't want to allow the fans at a place like that to get back into a game. They absolutely let that happen. 49ers got confident. Brock Purdy took over, and then that was the rest of it.
Yeah, I mean, all right, you could say whatever you want to say about him being aggressive, kicking the field goals, not kicking the field goals. That's the Lions' way. That's what they did all season long. You could say that's why they were there, them being aggressive. You're playing the number 1 seed on the road. You're not even supposed to be there. You're playing with house money. But my issue was you can't run the ball on 3rd down and then use a freaking timeout. So, yeah, I gotta place most of the blame on Dan Campbell. Like Nick said, it's not the only reason that they lost that game. The Gibbs fumble is huge. The drop from Reynolds is obviously really big there. But, yeah, I mean, running the ball, that was just moronic, I thought. And then, having to burn the timeout.
Bye.